Hey, hi Amit. Thanks for joining me. How are you?
Good, thanks, Sanjeev. How are you? Thanks for having us.
Very good. And his company is Life Beyond Numbers. And I thought today I'll have him and discuss the importance of having accountant and or financial strategies people who are looking to invest in property, and or even when they're starting to invest in property, because a property is all about numbers game, and utilizing and maximizing the personal circumstance so they can keep buying properties and maximize it. So yeah, I think I like your model, Amit, which is built upon the three things you talk about. I think which is build, manage, and protect. um,
Correct.
so um, so I thought, yeah, it will be good to share your insight, and especially coming from an expert like yourself, to teach people or not just educate the people that why it is so important to talk to the financials strategies before they start looking into property or anything.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I think, as you mentioned, my motto has been build, manage, and protect. So when I say build is build wealth. Manage is how do you manage it? Building is fine, but then you need to be efficient in managing it. And then, whilst you have done all the hard work to build it, have you put in risk mitigation strategies in place to protect your wealth? No point in building something and leaving it open for anyone and everyone to come in and grab whatever they want out of your portfolio. So there is that whole thing is there, and I usually use my 4 pillar strategy to assess anybody's position to see where they are at in their current position, and then manage the risk profile to decide what they should be doing the next as their next move, right?
Hmm.
But typically when somebody comes to me for the first time, there's always a lot of things that needs to be discussed and mentioned. When I start talking to clients, they just go, oh, we never thought about that.
Hmm.
um, and usually typically when I start discussing, first meeting, second meeting, they will be like, everything is clean, everything is up to date, there's no issues. Like 4 weeks ago, I started working with an IT professional, couple high net worth, earning well and truly over 200K each of them. Uh, they're like, our taxes are up to date, there's no issues. We got a financial planner looking into our insurances, so that's all covered. And we have a broker, so we don't want to talk about it, but we need to reconsider our accountant. Fair enough, that's fine if you. And then I started
That's right.
talking about things. I said, let me have at least. I still like to do is understand what is in place, so I can be aware of when things change. I can let them know that since your circumstances have changed, you may want to reconsider your position with the lending or insurances or whatever. Right? So it turns out when I started digging their tech stuff, I figured out there was $35,000 worth of taxes that were paid and not claimed for.
$35,000.
Yeah,
Is
that's
this
great.
like across couple of years or just for
Only,
one financial?
only one financial year,
Oh my God.
right? And then I looked at. I said, when I found that, right, all of a sudden there was a shift in that barrier was gone, where they thought I'm just there to, I'm just saying things for the sake of, but then they saw the value, then they sent me their insurances, right? And when I
Sure.
looked at it, when I digged into it, the way it was structured, for next 15 years, they were going to pay a lot more premiums, almost double than what they were supposed to pay. So I looked at it, I go, why is it structured the way it is? Was there any specific reason? He goes, I don't know. I thought I engaged a professional. It's his job. He told me this is what it's going to cost me. The insurances he had in place was 7.5 grand. And when I looked at it, it was coming under 4 grand. Right. So just from their point of view, if they have engaged professionals to do things and they expect a good outcome, but they not necessarily what is in place is always right. Right?
So, Amit,
Yeah.
sorry to interrupt here. I mean, it's a good point you're raising, right? I mean, that people are going to the professional, say. So how do they know, like, say, like, okay, this is the best professional for me? Like, what you would suggest, especially when people are looking for the financial strategies, like it could be a financial planner or a mortgage broker or accountant, what they should look for.
Very valid point. Good question, Sanjeev. The first and foremost thing is when you are talking to them, if they are coming to a level where you understand terminology and they are explaining everything to you in language that you understands,
Mm,
that's your first point. I mean, if I'm sitting here and giving out all the jargon that I've read in terms of tax and financial planning and lending, um, without telling you what it actually means for you, um, that's a good indication whether you and I can work together or not, right?
mm,
That's the first point, and then obviously with time, the barriers get broken down with time. That happens all the time. I see that happening. People will come in, they will say, "Okay, we just want to talk about tax, nothing else at this stage," which is fair enough. That's fine. But for those who are looking at bigger, broader picture, the strategy is the key. It's not about the decision you make today for today. Taxes, any particular event, whether that's taxes, insurances, or lending, or any other thing you're deciding, that there should be overarching strategy behind it. You can't just randomly have a decision that I want to get insurances because I feel like I want to buy investment property because last year I paid a lot of tax, right? Lot of times I'm sure you would come across people that will say, I want to buy property. Why? When you ask them why, well, because I paid a lot of tax, and if I buy a property, it'll save me tax. Yeah, that's fine. But just because you want to save tax, you don't buy $700,000 asset and pick up more than $500,000 worth of liability with it, right?
very true, very true.
At the end of the year, you might save $7,000-8,000 tax for 2, 3, 4 years, but is that the reason why you want to do it, right? There's 5% stamp duty in Victoria. I'm assuming that's the same in similar in New South Wales as well and other states. So that 5% stamp duty of $700,000 is 35 grand. You really want to buy a property to save 8 grand? That's 4 years before you will recoup your stamp duty.
Very true. Without understanding where you're going, what your goals are in the short and long term,
Yeah,
people are. No, I was taking notes, Amit, because it's a very good point that people should look for. First thing is the education piece. That can they talk the language? Can they simplify things for them? Because
yeah,
everyone is different, right?
yeah,
And explaining the different strategies as well,
yeah.
um, because one size doesn't fit everyone, right? So like, what
Absolutely,
are the options for me? So I
absolutely.
think that's where I think and that's these are the couple of things they should look for. I think when they are finding their accountant or mortgage broker or any financial strategist, right?
Anyone, right? For that reason, right? Uh, I always ask my clients, so what is the reason you have come all the way from where you have to me? Whilst they were, I'm sure there are 50 shop fronts you have gone past, which would have said either it's accountant or broker or financial planner. What is it? So it's not about executing one transaction. It's about
Mm,
strategy. What do you want to achieve in long term? How that fits into your profile, and that's the other thing. Breaking it down for you in simple terms is one thing, and then understanding your risk profile. I never ever meet one part of a family. I would say if you're a couple, you both need to come and see me at least for the first time, right? Because what typically happens is there is dynamics in a household where one could be aggressive, the other one could be completely, passive in their approach. They want to be conservative. They want to protect. The other one wants to go million miles an hour. Right? You need to find that
True.
balance in defining strategy. You can't just say define it to suit one person. It's a household. If I define a set strategy with conservative mindset in front of me, when he or she is going to go home, the other half is going to go, this, what are you talking about? You said this person is expert, but he's giving me nothing, basically.
Mm.
From that point of view, understanding the risk profile, it's not the individual's risk profile, it's the household's risk profile. It's the household's uh, ability to do things collectively. It's not one person, it's the household. So then that's the element. And then finding the gaps and putting them across. If you get these three things aligned, so first thing, breaking it down in simple terminology. Second thing, understanding your appetite as a household rather than as an individual. Third thing, looking at your current position, if they can understand and help you understand the gaps, the way your things are, I think that gives a very good sense whether the person you're talking to would work for you or not. Obviously, when you work with them, it gives you better understanding. But
Mm.
I think that's a very good starting point from that point of view. So my suggestion always is take your time to make that decision. It's just like after your health, this is the most important decisions you would ever make. Right? You don't go out and buy properties every single day of the week.
True.
It's very, very carefully drafted decision, and you need to be very careful and cautious in taking those approaches.
Yeah. No, I totally agree with you. And now the way you highlighted the strategy, the risk profile, and it's all about the household as well, especially if you're not married with living with a partner,
Mm,
if you're coming together, um, and each individual has their own appetite because we are all different individuals, right?
absolutely.
And no wrong or right answer, but we need to understand and then go from there,
Mm,
and bridge the gap also, right? Like, okay,
yep.
what, and then come with the plan. So I
Yeah.
think we also have in our business similar process.
Yeah.
We try to understand what a strategy will fit based on their risk profile, and
Mm,
especially when buying a property, it's all about number game as well.
absolutely.
um, but we advise people to come, if they are especially married or partner, come together so
Yeah.
that you can make a wise decision together, and
Mm,
without having that any gap,
yeah.
because friction will happen, right? um,
Exactly. And when you are conducting your interview or I'm conducting my interview, I think the process is very similar, where you need to understand what is it they both want. You need to find that medium ground. You could be it could be completely a cash flow property, or it could be capital gain property, or it
mm,
could be mix of both, or whatever it is they want to achieve. For you to materialize, you need to understand the needs of everyone rather than just one person, or um, not taking into account other person's presence is not the right
yeah.
way of doing things.
No, that's a very good process, because I don't see many of accountant or say any financial strategies doing this. But I think, yeah, now people who are watching this or listening to this now, they've got enough nuggets to look for people whom they're working as a accountant, or those kind of financial strategies. Then do they have this kind of process which encouraged to come as a household
Mm,
rather than an individual, right?
yeah.
So I think, and no, are they going explaining you in a simple terms, and are they uh, explaining you different strategies and what is involved? Is it so? Say if people are because a lot of my clients are property investors. When they are looking for accountant, is it recommended that they also have got the property investment experience when they're choosing an accountant or a financial strategies, or it is not that important?
Yeah. So Great question, Sanjeev. In that sense, the point is, just like doctors, there are specialists in accounting profession as well. Right?
Okay.
There are people who are practices who just practice for medical professionals. Then there are who specifically would say they are aligned to certain industries only. There is a reason, because tax legislation, just talking about tax legislation as it is, if you go back 20 years ago, the volumes of books were like this thick or this thick, Now there are volumes are like this, right? So things have evolved over time, and knowing everything about every legislation is pretty much next to impossible for anyone and everyone. Uh, I personally, as you mentioned, have inclination towards uh, picking up people with property portfolios and doing things for them.
Okay.
I like that kind of work, and we have cross paths on different
Sure.
educational platforms as well. So from that point of view, I try to go out and see what's happening in the industry. How people who are successful in this field are thinking, are looking at the current market dynamics, how they're positioning themselves for future, and how much of, I mean, I'm sure you would agree, uh, the chaos we have seen in 2020, we have never witnessed something like this ever before, right? How do you navigate your way through this? A typical mindset who is relying on media to give them the feedback would be, everything is going to fall apart. I should stay away from everything. Right? But is that the right approach, though? It's the question.
Mm.
I exchanged messages this morning with one of my clients. I told him, I said, I read his message, and at the end of it, I was like, I said, my advice to my clients has been twofold. Based on the risk profile, in next 3 to 5 years, pay off as much debt as you can, or ideally, you should be looking at your next project. If your risk appetite is there, or if you're hungry to build wealth, then that's what you should be thinking about. Because
Mm.
2% interest rates, really? Have you ever heard of it, Sanjeev?
Oh,
It's like, when I first bought property, 6% was a bargain at that time.
yes.
6% interest rate was a bargain. Somebody told me they paid 14, 15% as well.
Yeah. That
15%
was.
interest rates to borrow. Right? So from that point of view, it's matter of you understanding whether there is opportunity out there or not for
Yeah.
you. Yes, there are dynamics, broader, bigger dynamics. There are things happening in China. There are things happening elsewhere. They will take care of themselves, those things themselves. Because if China is not letting our goods in, guess what? Somebody is working on alternatives on those things. Sooner than later, those alternatives will start playing, and new dynamics would fall in place. But you shouldn't be making those decisions based on purely what you understand about those things. An expert like yourself can help them understand much more what's going on in property market. And I saw your posts from median house prices a few days ago. Um, it's interesting fact, the house prices. When was the last time um, they plummet like anything and never come back?
Mm.
We're talking about one of the most livable cities in the world, not in Australia. We're
Mm.
talking about Melbourne, Sydney, Brisbane. They are amongst the top 20 livable places in the world. You know, and when we look at investors, I don't think, probably you are better charge of it. Uh, I personally do not say that Melbourne, Sydney, Brisbane, Adelaide even are the investors are localized. They are global from my point of view.
Mm.
And whatever would happen, whatever the outcome is from this pandemic, we are amongst the cream or the best in the world to get the benefit out of it. In terms of the way we have responded, the whole world is looking at us. You know,
Very true.
so obviously we have gone different direction, but that's
No, that's always property. I think, and yeah, I think we are seeing so good opportunities in the current market. Stocks are low, and yeah, I think
yeah,
the sophisticated investor with the right mindset, having goals, and of course having the money, they are like buying left, right, center
yeah,
in this market. And especially as you mentioned, 2%, like money is literally free, right? So cheap
yeah,
money. So why you not take the opportunity
mm,
if you understand the opportunity, right?
yeah,
And that's where it's so important to have a team with the right mindset and know the right experience, which you can lean upon, can
yeah.
leverage upon these times, or in fact for the long term growth. Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's where, with the clients, I understand they are ready to take the next step. When I do their last financial years, post that, when I have my next meeting with them, I would say you are ready to take the next step if you want to. You know, your performance for last year has been this. Based on this, you should be ready to do these things. These are your opportunities in current financial year. Let's sit down and have a proper discussion on what do you want to achieve and where do you want to go in next 12 months from that point of view, and how does that tie into your end goal, whether that's 10 years, 15 years, or
Mhm.
20 years down the track. We need to backtrack and start taking actions and define smaller steps towards that progressive goal. And it's an ongoing journey. It's not one time kind of thing where you go in, see your advisors, and walk away, and then next time when you ring them, they go, who, what? That kind of, if you
Mhm.
get if you get that kind of expression over the phone, probably something is not right.
Mhm. Very
Something
true.
is not right. It's just, you have to have a strategy in place and a consistent dialogue. If not every month, every 3 months, every 6 months, define timeline
Yeah.
based on what you want to achieve. There should be a timeline. You should have a conversation with your advisors on the go. Same thing with property. If things have changed, they need to talk to you and see whether they should be looking at what they should be looking at next. Um, so from that point of view, they need to understand at any given point, are they ready to build their portfolio? Do they need to consolidate where they are? They might have done a lot of things in the last 12 months. They
Mhm.
might be ready for the next one, but are they really ready? Because they haven't consolidated everything. They haven't taken a step back and looked at where we are and how do we manage it better. Have we protected everything? Uh, have we mitigated our risks?
Mhm.
Understand that, define what you need to do in a sequential order, and then execute. It's not like, you're not racing against anyone, isn't
True.
it?
Now, very true, Amit. Now, I agree totally. I mean, as you clearly highlighted these things, because this is a long-term game, right? Like building wealth, or other you in business, or even in a job, say, and you have certain goals, right? And it's always a long-term play. And if you don't have a team, things can become ugly very soon, because there
Yeah.
is no understanding. Okay, what next? What next? And there is no push. But if you have the right team, like say like yourself, who has got such a good process in place, where you are asking the clients goals and everything, and then every financial year you're having a review meetings and
Mm.
pushing them that, okay, based on this number, because numbers might change, right?
Yeah.
um, Based on the job or business or whatever it is. And that's where, okay, what can we do right now, and then you just remind them of their goals as well.
Yeah.
So I think it's very important to have this kind of team.
Mm.
So yeah, no, I totally agree, and can see the value you guys are bringing, or having this kind of team can bring to
Yeah.
anyone. um,
I mean, I see this time and again. So many times, people have come to me. Um, I'll give you an example of a person, a couple, that comes to my mind. They came to me like 4 months ago or so. They have 4 properties which they have accumulated over last 7, 8 years.
yep.
When they bought their last property, their household income was roughly 180 in total combined, and 20 for husband and 60 for wife. Now it has gone to 270,
Okay,
right?
very
Combined
good.
180 for husband, and I think 70 was 80,
90.
70, 80 was his wife's income. Um, Now, when I asked them the question, why did you buy these properties? They go, we were paying a lot of tax, and that's why we bought them, to reduce our tax. Okay. So, as you know, over the last couple of years, the interest rates are smashing down. Their income has gone up. Their rental yield has improved. Rental return has gone up. Depreciation has fallen significantly for those properties. In 7, 8 years, they have chewed up bulk of it. Um, Interest rates have come down. All of a sudden, what was lucrative 5, 6 years ago has become a problem now. They're paying more tax. So they're like, we should sell the properties. And I'm like, really? What is the goal? What is your motive behind it?
Hmm.
Because tax should be consequence of your actions. Your actions should not result as consequence of tax. Tax is part of the strategy, not the strategy.
Hmm.
You know,
True.
so
Exactly.
you running around saving tax. So I can bet you, like I said before, they will, stamp duty would compensate for any tax benefit they would have availed over the last few years. Just because they are paying tax shouldn't is not the reason why they should sell it. Whether the property is right for them, whether it has performed or not, if there is capital growth in that property or not, those things hasn't been factored in. Just purely because they were paid, they have to pay tax. They want to sell it. Why? You know, to buy that asset again, it's going to cost them time, energy, and the process and the stamp duty, everything all over again. Before
Very
you
true.
decide, make that decision, what is the end goal you want to achieve? Why are you selling? Where are you going to put that money? Putting where you want to put it, would that give you the return it is giving, or is it going to give, will that give you better result, or retaining the property would give you the better result? Having that understanding before you execute anything like that is very important. And just doing simple numbers analysis,
Hmm.
is important. And they were like, we'll put it in offset. I said, offset is only a small component. You'll be able to put $65,000 into offset account. That will save you 2.3% interest rate of 65 grand. Is that a better value proposition for your money, or leaving it invested is better? And that's the question you should be asking, rather than saying, uh, it's costing me money because it's positively geared now, I want to sell it. Right? So understanding what you want to achieve and how a decision will fit into your long-term vision and goal is the critical bit in defining and making a decision.
Yeah, no, that's so true, Amit. And that's where we see also on our end the similar thing.
Yeah.
In Australia, more than 90% of the investor have got one property,
Yeah.
and literally these people can buy 3 4 property very easily,
Mm.
but because the strategy is not in place,
Yeah.
not having the right team, not understanding about these accounting and the implications,
Hmm.
it's just stopping them
Yeah.
because they're buying the wrong product. they're not understanding the implication.
Yeah.
They don't see the results as well, and
Mhm.
then ad hoc basis they will just buy, and
Yeah.
then they plan to sell it. And buying and selling is so expensive in Australia, right?
Yeah.
So especially in the property world. So yeah, I think having a right team around investors, or I think it is definitely a game changer. That has been for me actually. It's not all about uh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. And I can give you so many examples where people have bought wrong properties. They come up with all these interesting ideas, what they want to do with it. Um, and I'm like, parking the problem from one place to the other is not going to resolve your problem. You're just saying, I'll park it for some time and then deal with it later. It's not going to go away. It's
Mm,
still there with you. You need to make very careful decisions. What do you want to achieve? You know. So where does that decision take you is the question. You know, so from that point of view, it's a lot of probing I tend to do in that sense. And sometimes people, I'm pushing them out of their comfort zone. But sometimes
that's right.
it's like they go back and baffled, thinking, oh my God, what have we done? So from that point of view, it can be a bit of an eye opener in that sense for a lot of people as well, because the whole psychology around buy something just because short term they see a pain, to relieve that pain, they're buying an asset worth anything between $500,000 to 700, $800,000. It's not the right way of looking at things, you know.
Thank you so much, Amit, for sharing all these insights, and the kind of people are how they're dealing with their financials, and the property investing. It's good to hear from someone like yourself, and I'm sure it will help our conversation to a lot of many people to find the right team for themselves. So yeah, Amit, I know you have to go. We all already extended your time, but but say, Amit, if someone has to talk to you or reach out to you, what is the best way they can contact you?
My profile, they can look at my domain, amitaggarwal.com.au. You can have a look at that. That has contact form in there as well. But if you want to reach me directly, pick up the phone and talk to me. I'm always there. My mobile is 0432 120 120. Easy to remember as well.
Thank you so much, Amit. It was really great chatting with you, and a pleasure to have you here. So
Thank you.
we'll
Thank you for having me, Sanjeev.
we'll speak soon.
Speak soon. See you. Bye.